Hello everyone, this is part 1 of Unit 10, the last unit of UGC NET JRF Forensic Science, in which we will discuss about modes and manner of death. So the study of mode and manner of death is known as forensic pathology. So the death can be natural, accidental, suicidal or homicidal or murder by burning, drowning, etc. Hanging. So in the case of hanging, if the knot is situated at the occipital region is at the back of the head, center back of the head. So the knot is known as typical knot, and if the knot is placed elsewhere instead of occipit, the knot is known as atypical knot. Hanging can be complete hanging or partial hanging. In complete hanging, none of the body part touches the ground. The whole activity is of gravitational force and the body weight. And in case of partial hanging, body part will touch the ground. Dribbling of saliva is suggestive of ante-mortem hanging. The person is alive when he was hanged. Simon signs are observed in hanging cases. So these are the hemorrhages into the interior of intervertebral disc. Now the pressure required for complete death, in case of jugular veins it is 2 kg, carotid artery 5 kg, trachea 9 kg and vertebral artery 30 kg. Now drowning. You must have observed that in drowning death, the body will float after 12 to 24 hours of death. So this effect is known as ballooning of the body when the density of the body becomes less than that of the water. And this ballooning effect is due to the increase in decomposition of human gut bacteria and production of immense amount of gases such as carbon dioxide, methane, hydrogen sulfide, etc. The duration of this effect depends upon the body fat. Suspended animation or apparent death is observed in cases of drowning or electrocution. In this is the condition in which the vital signs of life are not detected by general clinical methods. The vital signs of life that are heartbeat, respiration, etc. The sternum is most suitable for diatom test. The various types of drowning are dry, immersion, secondary near drowning or post-immersion syndrome. So in dry, the whole body is not in water. A part of it is in water. For example, say only face, the nose and the mouth are inside water so that you cannot breathe properly. So this is a type of dry drowning. In immersion, the whole body is in water. The secondary near drowning or post-immersion syndrome is when the person survives from drowning, but after 24 hours, due to respiratory problems, the person will die. So the respiratory problems are due to drowning, but the main cause of his or her death would be respiratory problems, not drowning. That is why it is known as secondary near drowning or post-immersion syndrome. Paltov hemorrhage are observed in the case of drowning. So these are the ruptured alveolar walls of lungs. Anterior surface and margin of lung shows pale bluish red coloration with shining. Tsunami lung is an infection followed by aspiration pneumonia, and it is caused by near drowning in tsunami. Not complete drowning, but near drowning. So here the death reason would be the lung infection, but the main reason is the lung infection is due to drowning in tsunami. The Gettler's test for drowning. If the levels are less at the right side of the heart, drowning was be by salt water or marine water. If the levels are less at the left side of the heart, the body is drowned in fresh water. Now, some useful terms. Smothering is killing someone by covering their nose and mouth so as to suffocate them. It is a type of asphyxial death. Mugging is attacking and robbing someone in public place. Cafe coronary is when the bolus of food get choked in the esophagus and it will block the esophagus and the larynx. Gagging due to the entry of foreign bodies in the internal airways or nasopharynx. Throttling is uh, pressing the throat using finger or palm pressure. Syncope is fainting or passing out due to temporary drop in the amount of blood. Now the cause and the mechanism of death: primary or immediate cause, secondary or proximate cause. As we have discussed earlier, in case of secondary drowning, the primary cause was respiratory problems, but the secondary cause was drowning. So another example, if someone is exposed to large amount of radiation and then develops cancer, so the primary cause would be cancer, but the secondary cause would be radiation exposure, because cancer was because of radiation exposure. The mechanism of death is the changes in the body that led to death. Decomposition of the body. So when the heart stops beating, the cell of the body begin to die because the supply of oxygen get cut. And when the oxygen level of the body drops, the basic processes or the metabolic processes occurring in the body would also stop. That results in the stopping of all the organs. This is known as stoppage or the first stage of death. The other processes that took place are autolysis and putrefaction. So autolysis is when the body starts disintegrating because of the enzymes released by the dying cells. The body cells itself secrete enzyme that led to the disintegration of the body. In putrefaction, the disintegration of the body is due to the action of microorganisms from the outside. Autopsy or the post-mortem examination. It is the visual examination of wounds, clothes, etc. The classification of trauma. Mechanical trauma is due to the force applied on a tissue which exceeds the mechanical or tensile strength of the tissue. That is why the tissue tears. So the mechanical trauma is of two types: sharp force trauma and blunt force trauma. Sharp force trauma is by sharp objects, knife, axes, etc. Blunt force trauma is by brick, lamp, gunshot, etc. Sharp force trauma produce incised wounds. Inside wounds have more depth than the length or width. And blunt force trauma produce lacerations or tear the tissue. Sharp force trauma causes exsanguination or fatal loss of blood because the wound is very deep. Blunt force trauma causes contusion, or you can say bruise, or accumulation of blood in the body tissues. Hematoma or blood tumor is the extreme contusion. The pictures here are showing sharp force and blunt force trauma. As you can see, the linings are very clear in the sharp force trauma, but they are irregular in case of blunt force trauma. Asphyxia, it is a type of mechanical trauma in which the body is deprived of oxygen. The mechanisms of asphyxia are: first, suffocation or blockage of the major airways using foreign object. For example, placing pillow on someone's mouth, so it will block the airways of that person, the nose and the mouth. Strangulation or compression of neck bone, it results in the fracture of hyoid bone and bruising. For example, compressing someone's neck using wire or using a piece of cloth, etc. The main difference between strangulation and hanging are: in strangulation, the pattern is all over the neck, so the circular pattern would be observed. In hanging, the pattern is not complete. Towards the knot side, it would not show any marking. Another type is chemical asphyxiation, when oxygen is replaced with any other gas. Now, what are the indications of asphyxia? After death due to asphyxia, left side of heart is congested and right side is empty. Ligature mark is patterned aberration. Tardive spots are observed. These are the round purple-red pinhead-sized spots found over the skin. Barnstola is a type of strangulation. It is the strangulation by stick. And there is traumatic asphyxia or Perth syndrome, in which there are cervico-facial cyanosis, petechial hemorrhages, and subconjunctival bleeding. That is, all these are the results of compressive chest trauma. Other type of trauma are chemical trauma, in which chemical is associated with the damage or death of the body. Thermal trauma, death due to heat. If extreme heat is there, it is known as hyperthermia. If the temperature is too cold, it is known as hypothermia. So in both the cases, if the temperature is very less or if the temperature is very high, death can occur. In case of burning, the level of carbon monoxide in the tissue and the presence of soot in the throat will help us to determine whether the person was alive during burning or he or she was dead. If there is just 1 or 2% carbon monoxide present in the tissues, that indicate that the person was dead during burning. Now, electrical trauma at low voltage, that is less than 1000 volt, it causes ventricular fibrations or random queering in the heart. It is not that it does not cause that much damage, as the current is acting like an artificial pacemaker. So the heartbeat would increase a little, but not death. But at high voltages, there is defibrillation, or heart will be pushed into tetany or sustained contraction. That results in stopping the heartbeat. Now the injuries and inference. So to reveal micro injuries to the female genitalia due to rape, staining with toluidine blue is done. Fatal hypoxia occurs when oxygen saturation of arterial blood drops to 70 mmHg. The tumefaction or the swelling of the edges of the wound will show that the wound has been inflicted within few hours after death. So the wounds were inflicted after death. Thank you for watching. For more such videos, like, share and subscribe my YouTube channel Vidhi Vigyan.